Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to Twinsight. Today we're going to talk a little bit about trading in your car toward a new car purchase. A couple of fundamental principles here. First of all, almost any car that you own, no matter how it looks, probably has more value than you think.
All cars have value.
And second, this is leverage for you at the new car dealer, both in terms of you perhaps can get a good trade-in value for your car, but it's also going to open the eyes of the dealer to want to negotiate well with you and get you into that new car, so it's good leverage for you as a general proposition.
Correct.
Following up with people then, which is where we normally start on these episodes, who's involved in this process from the dealer and how might that benefit the consumer?
Well, you're going to deal with the used car manager or the used car appraiser. They're the one that's going to offer you the value for your car. Remember, your trade-in is just like currency. It's like money in the transaction. So they're going to appraise your car, used car manager, used car appraiser. They're going to tell you what the value of the car is. There might be a little tension there between the new car department and the used car department, because when the car comes in on trade, any profit from that car goes to the used car department. So your advocate is your salesperson and the sales manager. They're going to want to get you as much as they can for that car to make it so they can sell the new car. But remember, when the used car department appraises that car, they're trying to make a profit off of that car, whether they're going to keep it to retail it or they're just going to send it to an auction and wholesale it.
Okay, now let's circle back to the trade-ins themselves. Our assets generally, we have a buy transaction, a sell transaction. You have to orchestrate that as an individual, whether it's your house, whether it's your furniture, your computers or whatever. Cars are different. There's actually a trade-in aspect to this. How did this become a thing?
Trade-ins, I don't know exactly when it started, but I want to say it was more like it got very popular in the 40s. New car dealers just wanted to sell new cars. They didn't really sell a lot of used cars. But then they made the trade-in process convenient, so you didn't have to worry about selling your old car. They took it on trade more as a convenience for them to now sell the new car. And they still stayed in the new car business, but then they took a couple of nice low mileage, late model trades in stock and they start keeping that car. And that's what we created, the used car department at a new car dealership.
And the used car department is a very profitable center for the dealership.
So it became a convenience for consumers, has now turned into a kind of a separable business.
You got
Absolutely.
it. You got it.
Is trading in always the best way to go? What else can people do?
I wouldn't say it's always the best way to go. I mean, you've got to do a little bit of knowledge to know what your trade-in is worth. I would say if your car has reasonable mileage on it and it's in a value of $10,000 or less, you might get more money for it selling on your own, and it's not that hard.
Okay. And then there are also institutional buyers like CarMax, Carvana, and others who might offer a good...
There's plenty of places to sell your car now. Plenty of places. That'll just buy your car, whether you're buying a car from them or not.
And we'll have a future episode where we'll talk about car selling. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sales tax advantages, though, to a trade-in versus selling your car outright to someone else.
There is sales tax advantages when you trade a car in. And I'll just use a couple of numbers here, for example. You're buying a $40,000 car and you're trading in a $20,000 car. When you trade that $20,000 car in on that new car transaction, you are only going to pay tax on the difference. So we started with 40, they're giving you 20 for your trade, you're only going to pay $20,000 worth of sales tax. And that's because you have already paid sales tax on the car that you are trading in.
Okay, so we have to use that number and keep that in mind in terms of valuing trade-in versus sell price.
Yeah, so if your car is only worth $2 or $3 grand, there's not a big savings there. But if you got a several $1,000 car, it could add up to a decent amount of savings in sales tax.
And keep in mind, Chris, like let's say the dealer offers you $17,000 for your car, and you went on to one of these online portals and they're offering you $18,500 for your car, right? You're getting $1,500 more, but you're losing now in the sales tax advantage. So you're kind of almost washing out of the same transaction.
Okay. Now, in terms of transactions, then, turning back to that topic, sequencing. We talked about you're buying a new car, you negotiate that price.
And that's very important.
You negotiate your financing, and then is it trade-in? Is that the third leg of the stool? And if so...
That's the third core transaction to the complicated process of buying a car.
And is it important to keep those separate and lock them in along the way?
Very important.
Absolutely, because they could inflate the price of your trade if they're making a lot more money on the new car or the financing. But we want to get it down to apples for apples.
So the key is you negotiate the price for the car.
That's first and most
You
important.
have them commit to that. Then you do the financing, have them commit to that. And then if they try to circle back when it's trade-in time, you say, no, you've already agreed to that value, and now
Yes.
let's talk trade-in by its own. Okay, great.
Exactly. And like we always say, your knowledge is your power, and your power equals savings.
And like we said, Chris, they're going to start asking you questions as soon as you get there for their benefit. They want to know where their opportunities are. So like if they say, are you trading in your car? Just say, I haven't decided yet. It depends, and that's the truth. It depends on what we're going to get for it. So we like negotiating the new car, negotiating the finance, then negotiating the trade, and we got 3 solid numbers there.
And not only do you not circle back, but you also don't jump ahead then, right?
Correct.
Bingo.
All right, now the process itself then, you've decided you're going to trade in, you're not going to sell the car. How do you negotiate a trade-in effectively?
Well, like we always say, you got to do a little bit of homework, knowing what your trading is worth. That's very important. It's not that hard to figure it out. Like we've talked about, finding comparables in your area. Maybe go to some of these online portals and see what they'll offer you for your car. Know what your trading is worth. That's very important. Chances are, if your car's in above average condition, it's worth more than you think it is. That's why we say it's your currency and your bargaining chip.
Chris, let me just add, go just locally, put, the type of car you have for sale in my area. And like Ricky always says, let's say 20 of them come up. Take the highest one and the lowest one, throw those out, and that'll give you a general idea of what your car's worth.
Okay, now how about wholesale price versus retail price?
So retail price is what they're going to sell the car for on their lot. Wholesale price is what the car would do at the auction or what dealers would pay for it. Of course, there's a markup between wholesale and retail, but a lot of times these dealers will take a car in trade and they re-wholesale it, and they still make money, and we want them to make money. We just don't want them to make a lot of money.
And even CarMax, Carvana, Vroom, they're going to pay you more of a wholesale price than a retail price because they have to turn around and sell the car. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
They got to advance that profit from there.
And in retail is exactly what it says. It's like you're dealing with retail. You're retailing the car.
But you have to deal with the risks of that.
You
and
got
the
it.
orchestrations and so forth. Okay, now book value. What's book value?
So book value, there's many different books. There's NADA, which is now called JD Power. There's Black Book. There's Blue Book. And these vary in different parts of the country. Out west, they all use Blue Book. Down south, they all use Black Book. In the Northeast, everybody wants to know what JD Power NADA is. This book is just a guide for an average car at an average price, but the books are really there to help the banks value how much money they can loan on each car.
So these are not scriptural then. You use them perhaps as one frame of reference, but do your homework.
Yeah.
Right on the cover of every one of these books, it says, this is just a guide.
And the old saying, the book doesn't write a check for the car. The dealer writes a check for the car.
And the book is definitely behind the times in terms of COVID, right?
Well, the book's actually caught up, and it's a little scary situation at the moment because the book has, because of COVID with the shortage of cars, book values have skyrocketed. Now we're starting to see the market slow down just a little bit. Now it's going to take a while for that book to catch up this way. So right today, the book value might be actually higher than the actual cash value. You might hear terms like ACV, actual cash value.
Okay. Now, what does a dealer typically do with a trade-in? How does that process work?
Well, it all depends on what it is. I mean, we emphasize to people all cars have value. You might think your car's got high mileage, say 130,000 miles, and you're thinking, oh, nobody wants this car. There's a lot of value in a lot of high mileage cars. If it's a low mileage car, and let's say it's a Ford and you're buying from a Ford dealer, they want that trade so they can resell it in their used car department. Remember one thing, all dealerships love trade-ins. It's another transaction for them, and it's another profit center. They all like trade-ins, whether it's got 30,000 miles, 130, or 230. They all like them.
And the Ford dealer is probably going to pay you perhaps even a little bit more for that Ford than somebody else would just because they have an easy way of reselling.
Exactly.
And the same goes for a Toyota at a Toyota dealership, Nissan at a Nissan dealership, so on and so on and so on.
And we talked about preparation by way of research, and we'll have a toolkit at the end of the episode with hyperlinks and so forth where you can reach out. Anything else folks can do to prepare? Should you bring somebody with you if you're nervous? What's the...
We're going to have a whole nother episode about negotiating. I always want you to bring somebody with you. And a lot of reason for that is they don't know whether they got to convince one person of this deal or two people for this deal. You can bounce their opinion, your opinion. What's your opinion? What do you think of this? So it's always better to have two people there.
Now, cleaning up your car, getting it set, preparing the car itself.
Preparing the car for sale, all right? We just want it presentable. If you were going to sell a house, right, we always say we live in a glass house. People come in the house, you know, there's clothes here, there's this there, there's papers all over the counter. You're going to sell your house, you kind of just make the house kind of neat. I'm not telling you to go get your car completely, fully detailed. If you want, that's okay. But just kind of, let's take most of the stuff off, the personal stuff out of the car. Let's run it through a car wash, vacuum it, do the windows. We want it, make it look presentable.
With its everyday clothes, I disagree on getting your car professionally detailed, because when you pull in and you just pulled it out of the detail shop today and you pull into the dealership with it this afternoon, you're sending a subliminal message to that dealer that you want to sell this car, you want to trade this car in. And we want them to see it in its everyday clothes. Just empty it out, vacuum it out, take all your phone chargers out, your water bottles out, make it presentable.
But otherwise, you want it a little ambiguous so the dealer doesn't count on you trading that car in, right?
Exactly. And let me throw in one other thing. When they walk around your car, we call it the silent appraisal. Don't say things like, I got a chip in the windshield, or yes, I hit a shopping cart at Target the other day, I got a scratch. Let them walk around it. They're professionals. They know what they're looking at. Don't volunteer any information they don't ask.
So silence is your friend.
Silence is your best friend.
Now, how about if your car is not roadworthy?
If your car's not roadworthy, we like that you trade it in because we don't want to put anybody in danger. You know, if your car needs brakes or the exhaust is leaking or this and that, right? You don't want to sell that car on your own. Now, you might be able to sell it on your own and not have any problems, but we don't want to put anybody's life in danger. So if your car's not safe for the road, you can sell it on your own, but I want you to disclose and make up an affidavit that you're telling them this car is not safe for the road.
Great. Well, thank you. We hope you got some good insights today.
Make sure you smash that like button, comment down below, let us know what you're interested in. I'm Ricky.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Chris.
Be strong and courageous.